Good to me, yeah.
Great. Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome to the Katie Halper Show. Wonderful to be with you. As is his want, Jack Allison is here. As is his want on Sunday night.
This is my want. This is the thing that is my want. I wake up every Sunday and I'm like, my want is to be on the Katie Halper Show tonight.
And his wish is granted, which is pretty amazing. Not everyone gets that. A lot of people
gets their want. Not everybody gets their want.
And I think a lot of people actually have this specific desire to do this show.
This particular want.
They have this particular want to each according to his own whatevs. But not everyone gets it. So maybe I should auction that off.
Yeah, maybe you should. Maybe I mean, that would fuck up my want, though. That would, however, fuck up my want.
But we gotta, we have to think of the group.
That's not being, very, considerate of my want, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Totes. I agree. Anyway, so we have a great show for you guys today. We're going to have Ava Farkas on, who is the executive director of Met Council on Housing, which is kind of a big deal. It's like an old, I think I used to say it was the oldest and biggest New York City housing tenants' rights organization, but I was wrong. I think it's just the oldest, which is still very important. I'm also I'm experimenting with some hair stuff because my hair, Jack, you know what it is right now? It's winter. It's getting to be winter. It's fall.
Sure. Yeah, it's fall. We're in deep fall.
We're in deep fall. The fall is strong.
Yeah, fall is very strong right now.
Yes, very strong. And so my hair is being a little weird. And I don't know what to do about it, but I thought we could spend all of today. I'm going to cancel the guests and just take
talk about the hair
from the guests about my hair. Yeah, I'm just kidding. So we're going to be talking to Ava Farkas, Met Council on Housing Executive Director. By the way, P.S. I happen to have known her for a long time. Maybe I shouldn't say that because I don't want it to look like nepotism, or I don't want you to think she's not a great get because she's a great get.
Right. But you still, I mean, you don't want to be dishonest. You should just be upfront about it. This is somebody that full disclosure. This is somebody I know.
Yes, and then, but before that, we're going to talk to. Now, I've known you for years, but I still don't know for sure if it's Esha or Esha. So, is it Esha? Give me one thumbs up, and if it's Esha, give me.
Is it Esha? I think it's Esha.
Is it Esha or Esha? Esha. Esha. Okay,
That's
Esha.
what I'm saying. Yeah,
Right.
Esha.
Not Esha, not Esha, just Esha. Esha Krishnaswamy, who is the host of Historically. She's also went to law school, which you'll see is relevant.
Wow.
So she's what I call a jurist. And the reason we're going to talk to her is we're going to talk to her about a lot of things, including nepotism, which is something I refuse to engage in, which is why I revealed to everyone. What did I reveal to everyone? That I've known Ava Farkas for many years.
Wow, that's big. You are a beneficiary of nepotism, and you're just saying it right here.
I see.
Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
You're right. You're right. So right. No, but what I'm doing is so if I do a full disclosure, what I'm doing is I'm actually at least I'm countering my own corruption.
Right. You're countering your own corruption.
Right.
You're revealing right up front before this can be used as oppo against you.
Right.
Before this can be used as oppo to cancel either of you. You're saying here it is. I'm doing nepotism right now.
Right.
Yeah. When you had your dad on, that was also nepotism. I mean, that was very literally nepotism.
It was literally nepotism. But I mean, honestly, I think that having my dad on, that was what is the logic here? This is a very interesting question about morality because everyone knew he was my dad, right? I wasn't trying to hide it. You know what? I don't think that's nepotism. You know why? That was a gift to all of you. That was a gift to watchers and listeners. I think everyone enjoyed his puns.
Right. That's not you getting a better, but you had a better show, right? Because of it. You know what I mean? So maybe that show will end up leading to, huge success in the future.
Right.
And in that case, you are a beneficiary of nepotism. If someone was watching that particular show and they're like, I want to give Katie a book deal, that's
because
nepotism.
Based on my dad?
Based on that episode or based on, a snowball effect after that episode, that's nepotism. You just got to keep the parents out of it if you don't want any nepotism.
No, I just think it's full disclosure. I mean, who am I to deprive I don't think it's nepotism. I don't think here's what it is. if I didn't reveal, and thank you, Gardner, I am trying to get my mom on. If I didn't reveal who my dad was or that I knew Ava, that could be a potential conflict of interest.
Right. Exactly.
So,
exactly. Either way, you just don't want the oppo out there. You just don't want the oppo out there.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from the show Ballin. Do you watch that show?
I don't watch Borgin.
Borgin, yeah. Apparently, it's pronounced Ballin. Yeah, or something.
I don't know it. Is it Ballin?
No, Borgin, Borgen, and it's on Netflix. And it's
I don't know it.
It's Danish. It's good. I just need thank you, Kelly McGuire, who totally enjoyed my dad's input. By the way, just going to take a pause before I talk about this show Ballin. Please, everyone, in this moment, like this show, subscribe to the show, and go out to your social networks.
It's time.
And it's time. The time has come.
Yeah.
We are silent no more. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we had access to Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? That is the old saying. So please, will you share this on social medias and subscribe and like? And yeah, we need more subscribers, apparently.
Is that true?
Yeah, Kelly keeps telling me that. She says subs, but I don't want to open up that can of worms. So just subscribers, we're going to call them that. Maybe subbies. What about subbies? That's kind of a cute name.
Subbies? Like,
I'm just trying to avoid subs because that has another connotation.
A little too weird. Yeah.
Not weird. We can't kink shame.
Well, I mean, I guess it's not. It's weird to impose on someone. It's weird if you're saying to someone like you're a sub and they're not consenting.
Yes, exactly.
That's weird. That's not consenting.
You're right. You're totally. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for Thank you for dismantling.
You see how you see how I dodge these cancel bullets? Like
I know
Neo?
You're so much better than I am.
Neo, I'm able to just dodge cancel bullets.
Yeah. Like an octopus.
Oh, like you can't get me. You can't quite get me.
It's true. You can't nab Jack. I didn't call you worms. What are subbies worms or something?
Subbies? No, I don't think worms.
SG says, does anyone else never receive notifications from this show, even though you've triple checked your settings? Oh, wow. Sounds a little bit like the man knows about the show.
Much?
FBI. I mean, Ken Klippenstein basically implied that people like my show in the intelligence community.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyone
they
have
probably wouldn't be blocking it then.
Well, they may like it personally, but they may think that for for security reasons, they may have to yeah. Do any people I guess you may not want to say this. Has anyone that you dislike liked Struggle Session or Jack AM and you've been like, don't take my name, take my show out of your mouth? Yeah.
Not really, to be honest with you. The people that I don't like seems like don't like me very much. You know what I mean? There was one time when someone was around and I was a little bit like cringy at it, but I was like, there's never been like a big issue with it. There was one time someone came around the chat and I was like, okay. But other than that, not really. And it hasn't been it's not a regular. So, to all the chatties out there, it's none of you, of course.
Right. We love you. But this is weird. This is a systemic problem, like so many problems out there. This is a systemic problem. Thank you, Red Pill. Love, peace from Antifa freedom fighters. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And of course, we welcome your super chats.
We love them.
We love them. And why is that no one gets notifications? Is anyone? Oh, my God, you guys, what if when we fix that, this show became Joe Rogan? I'm not. What is that green thing, by the way, on your thing? Oh, it's Halloween.
It's fake. It's Halloween. Halloween cobwebs. Kate put it all up during Jack AM, and so there's all sorts of Halloween shit all over the place here. Leaves back there.
Okay, so here's what's interesting. Ricky Huang gets notifications. Usual gets notifications. Lily only gets 30. And where are all the people who don't get them? Karen and John, that's extra. That pains me extra because that's 2 people. I can't have that.
Wow.
And Andreas Fries, Hazy Wave. This is not good. So I need someone to hack the internet. I need to write to John Podesta's cybersecurity team and ask him if I should click on this so he can tell me definitely do. But yeah, let me just do one thing while we're watching, because I never do these and people like it. Apparently it's good for the traffics. I'm just going to do, what do you want me to tell Twitter viewers? How can I convince them to come watch this? I mean, they'd be stupid not to. Anything you want, you guys, I will, from chat to my Twitter viewers, I can communicate anything because I'm magic. Let's see. I'm not even tipsy, by the way. People keep asking me if I am. All right. So I'm now live. Hi, people on Instagram. It's so, Twitter, sorry. Hi, people on Twitter, on Periscope. That's why it confused me. It's kind of weird that they're always like, well, let me get one thing out of the way. I have a show that you should come to on YouTube. It's my pinned tweet, and it's with Jack LOL of Struggle Session, and Jack AM. And then we're also going to be talking to Esha Krishnaswamy about big tech censorship, and Ava Farkas from Met Council on Housing will be taking your questions and talking about how to not get evicted. So that's very good. Make sure you come over. Again, that's on, it's my pinned tweet. And we're going to be talking about Huntergate, okay? So come on over, and I will see you soon. And congratulations to Batty B and Magic, because it's their first day on Periscope. Isn't that funny how it tells you that?
Weird.
It's a little bit TMI. Yeah. All right. So don't forget to come on over. Bye. All right. Stop broadcast. Let me just tweet that out. Sorry, guys. I feel like this is cool because you get a behind the scenes view.
Yeah, this is like, it's like Studio 60 or something. You get both. You get both, yes. Behind the scenes and the actual show.
Yeah, it's yeah, usually you have to really, well, it's confusing, but there's a lot of stuff that you need to get. And now let me just do an Instagram thing, and then we're going to bring in our first guest. But while I'm doing the Instagram thing, Jack, would you mind updating us on what is happening right now in terms of one of our favorite? I think we're the only lefty. No, the only not lefty, only people in the entire world. Do you know of anyone else who is openly pro Hunter Biden?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other as big names as us that are as pro Hunter, Well, listen, a lot went down with Hunter Biden this week. The New York Post got a sort of semi-dubiously sourced information from a laptop, I guess, that included, I think video of Hunter having sex and like smoking crack and like laying in the bathtub smoking a cigarette. He's like shirtless with a leather jacket and stuff like that. And look, I really do, honestly, in the end, like I do feel bad for Hunter Biden as a person. You know what I mean? It's like Hunter Biden, yes, he's like a rich kid and he's a fail son and everything like that. And he benefited a lot from fucked up stuff. But like, he's also just like an addict guy or whatever, like who sucks as Joe Biden, who like, it was meth, right? Sorry, it was not crack. It was meth that he was smoking.
Thank you, Austin
in the photo. That was, I had to be corrected there. And look, you feel bad for him. Yeah, like, Biden actually shows compassion. Like they actually botched this Oppo dump so badly that Biden ends up actually kind of looking good in one of the pieces where it's like he's like, I love you, my son, or like basically like Hunter's texting him like, I'm a fuck up, I'm an addict, and Biden texts like, I love you, my son, I wish I'd be there for you or something like that. He's like seems very human in it. And the real scandal around it is that Joe Biden was very compassionate when it was like his son who was going through addiction, but not, when he was thinking about other people's children in the laws that he was passing, in the Senate, and in creating like further incarceration and stuff like that. So, the real fucked up thing with Hunter is, and that's where I think the Republicans actually even like get it wrong, is they just like think Hunter's like disgusting and like worth laughing at and stuff like that. And it's like, no, what's actually fucked up about Hunter is like that, not everybody got that kind of compassion and this type of treatment when they were going through like, addiction. You know what I mean? Like, that's really the scandal with Hunter, is that like for other people's children, it was the Rave Act. And for Hunter, it was, rehab and compassion.
Right.
That what you want to know about Hunter. The right question about Hunter is not like, are you embarrassed of your son Hunter? But it's like, do you think it would have helped your son Hunter if he went to prison? You know what I mean? Like, would it have helped his rehabilitation to go to prison? And if the answer to that is no, then like, why does it help other people's children, in rehabilitation to go to prison for drugs, stuff like that. Yes. So that's really how I feel about, Hunter and all this kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. I ultimately in the end, I'm like, whatever. I ultimately, do like kind of feel for Hunter or whatever.
I do too. I do too.
But yeah, he is just a rich kid. He is a rich kid in the end.
He's dealing.
Listen,
Well,
many would have suffered from affluenza.
Yeah, Keith Dillon writes, poor kid suffered from affluenza, which we'll get into in a second. Also want to thank you, Ruth, for saying, I enjoy your show. It's unique in substance, unlike so many indie media outlets that are clearly hooking viewers via clickbait sensationalism over and over again. Thank you. Let's go back to the story about the presidential nominee's son, meth and strip clubs.
And so look, it's like,
you like that? What I did,
exactly,
I was undermining, but in a loving way. I was.
But usually, it could be like, if it was clickbait, you'd be like, right after this break, right after this break, it's going to be meth, strippers,
exactly.
The president's son,
live on the Katie Halper show.
But first, like this ad read.
But first, this ad read, for sex toys. Apparently, who was it? Was it you who said that Hunter Biden had sex workers buy him?
Hunter Biden had people had him buy a dildo. He also, there was a time like he paid strippers to like just watch him do drugs. And I'm like,
that's a cry for help, maybe.
It's a little bit of a cry for help, but it also rocks a lot. It does rock in some ways. Listen, there's a lot of stuff that the Republicans have been trying to sort of slow roll out of these emails, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people. Well, you don't see a lot of it because like Twitter decided to like. That. Yeah, Twitter decided to block it.
Esha.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff, it's like, it either confirms stuff we already know, like that Hunter's an addict or whatever, and some of it is like dubious. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff in there that the Republicans are pointing to that like they'll be like refers to like the big guy getting a cut or something like that. But it's all, there's no real smoking gun in it so far. There might be, but it is like dubiously sourced and all this kind of stuff. And frankly, I think it would matter a lot more if it wasn't Donald Trump that he was running against. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of this stuff just doesn't matter. It's like, even if it all comes out, it's like, it's just really not going to matter because Donald Trump is worse in many ways across the board, especially when it comes to like nepotism and corruption and stuff like that. And it's like the people that want Trump out aren't going to be swayed by that, like that Biden is more corrupt than Trump. I just don't see it happening at this point in the election. I don't.
Yeah. How much info do you have about, can you drop some knowledge on Trump's kids' corruption?
Yeah. I mean, like, first of all, it is just like that even Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner are like working in a direct capacity for the White House is like pretty unheard of, beyond Jack Kennedy hiring Bobby Kennedy to be like the attorney general. Like they like tightened that stuff up after like the Kennedy brothers were being like sleazeballs at the White House. You know what I mean? Like, the Kennedys are their own, different animal or whatever, but they had to like lock up the whole nepotism laws in DC after John Kennedy decided to do that. And so look, it's like pretty unheard of they're trying to like hang on, Biden, that he's corrupt for getting his son a, job at Burisma. Obviously Hunter didn't deserve that job. There's no reason for him to be on that board. It was a very, very lucrative job. And it's like around the exact same time when Hunter was like heavily addicted to like meth and crack and like, doing all this other wild stuff. So it's like, yes, there was corruption there, but it's hard to make that corruption argument when Jared Kushner, who is just like truly a dipshit of dipshits, like no credentials at all besides marrying Trump's daughter, is like literally negotiating fucking Israel peace deals. Like
I
he's
know.
like negotiating peace in the Middle East or whatever. Like that's their sell. I'm like, so you really can't make this argument. He's like, he had his son over there for diplomatic reasons. I'm like, but you fucking have your son over at the UAE,
right?
Like trying to like literally like, you know, I'm like, so it's just really hard to make that argument. I do think that some of this stuff with Hunter may come up a lot more after the election. I'm like, this stuff is can maybe end up a lot more sticky if any of it ends up true and Trump is not the president anymore, you know?
Yeah. I mean, my thing is always that, and we talked about this with Stephen Reisner, which is that Trump is a liar, but he's not a hypocrite, or at least as much of a hypocrite as Biden or as most politicians, only because he does not claim to hold this mantle of morality.
You know, the weird thing with Trump, though, is that it's like he will contradict himself, though, so much. It's like he can't hold a consistent thought in his mind. Like it's the same thing you were saying about, you know, when he laid into Biden and he's like, you know, you're the Mr. Super Predators and also, you know, you're soft on crime. You know what I mean? I'm like, you kind of don't get to do both. Like that's kind of the problem with Trump is he can't be a hypocrite because he doesn't believe anything. But he also like is too ADD to stay on anything that works because none of it matters to him.
Yeah, it's very true. And also, you know, people who are you know, Matt Taibbi had a great tweet the other day. I can't remember what it is now, but it was something like Russia gators are what? I really should have. Well, someone else tweeted Russia gators are birthers with master's degrees. But the reason I bring this up is because if you want to know whether someone is following, because everyone claims to be like real experts on this stuff and to really know what's happening and be aware of everything that happened with Russia and the Russians. But ask someone what they think of Israel's role, and people will be like, what do you mean? I'm not talking about Israel. And I bring that up because the one thing that actually the real collusion, the collusion that we know of that happened was with Michael Flynn. And I think we talked about this with Aaron last time, so apologize the repeat. But Michael Flynn asking the Russian ambassador if for Russia to vote against a non-binding resolution condemning Israeli settlements. And here's why that's interesting, because nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about Israelgate. And in addition to that, Russia didn't do that. So if Trump and Putin are boyfriends, then they obviously have a coming full circle with the sub thing. They have some kind of S&M relationship, or maybe it's that Putin plays hard to get. All of those things are up.
Sorry, my thing seems to have frozen here. I'm gonna quit the browser and rejoin here. I'll be right.
Sure, great. I mean, not great. Looking forward to having you back. Aisha, I see you in the back room. Can you make it so your head isn't cut off? Maybe put some books under your laptop, because you don't want to have that upwards angle. Aren't I nice to my guests? I could have a seamless show, but for that, I just want to make sure. Do you have some books to put under it? Yeah. Let's see. What else? Yeah. So the thing is, the interesting thing about the affluenza thing is that, oh yeah, was Matt's thing? Maybe it was. Russia gators are like QAnon with a master's degree. I retweeted it so someone can find it. But the thing is that with the affluenza thing, my take has always been that we should move towards, you know, decarceral, obviously like the decarceral state as opposed to the present day carceral state. And it's not that anyone's suggesting this, but I don't have like less empathy. Well, maybe I probably do actually. I have empathy for Hunter Biden. I have empathy for rich kid F-ups. I have more empathy though for people who have those things and then have to spend their time in jail or have to lose their. Okay, Jack is back. Thank you. So I was just saying that with the affluenza thing, I have empathy for people who are rich F-ups, and I have double empathy or triple, depending on the situation, for people who are F-ups, who are thrown away, locked in jail to rot. in jail, locked up without a key. All right, this is where I think Jack just disagrees with me. He's much of a class warrior than I am. I'm just kidding. I think he lost connection. Anyway, I'm going to bring on our guest, Esha Krishnaswamy, the host of the Historically podcast, and a real insightful person when it comes to so many things, including big tech censorship. Esha, welcome.
Well, thank you. And I was just thinking about what you said about Biden, and the biggest scandal is that he is in the board of directors of a fracking company in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah.
The fracking part.
Yeah.
Is what
you know what? That's why.
Big element.
Now we know why Kamala Harris is like, we are not going to ban fracking. Maybe that was her attempt to be transparent. Right? She should say we're not going to ban fracking because
we need to do work with Burisma.
Yeah. It would just be too rude. Look, Hunter's such a fuck up. We can't do this to him. Like, we have to maintain a good relationship with Burisma, or else that will all have been for naught. And we just can't do that to Hunter. And by the way, so what I was saying again, and then you left, but what do you guys think about my idea? Because a lot of times people are like, oh, lock up that affluenza kid and throw away the key. And my thing is like, no, don't do that. But let's free people in jail. I mean, in the world where we have these magical powers. But that's what we should be moving towards. Yeah,
look, everybody, we shouldn't have prison for anybody. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what it's about in the end. And, hopefully everyone will just become a better person when they get their money away. You got to take away the source of the problem, and then maybe they'll be cured. You know what I mean? If affluenza is caused by money, perhaps you can cure them.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. And a lot of the other stuff is caused by not having money. Like, I'm not saying like crime. I'm saying not having access to good lawyers, not having conditioned hookups from your parents, By the way, I don't tolerate, speaking of where is this? Do you see the comment that said, please don't talk over each other? I don't allow hate speech on this, and that is anti-Semitism.
Wow.
I just want to make sure people are aware of that. You guys have to know that I have a joke about this. Like, that's not serious. I think people get that, right? That I don't actually think it's anti-Semitic. I mean,
yes, I think people
Jews
get that
do talk
joke
over each other. But and I got into I have a huge problem, guys. I'll show this to you later. We'll do a segment on Katie's tweets, and you can see I got into a lot of trouble for saying Amy Coney Barrett was engaging in cultural appropriation. People thought I was being serious about. And I doubled down, and anyway. So we'll get to that later. But Esha, tell us what you think is important about this story, about the way Twitter and Facebook responded to this New York Post story, which people can check. I tried to share it on the last episode and couldn't. So
they blocked it. So if you were on Twitter and you clicked on the New York Post story link, it would they blocked it. And it'd take you to this Twitter page that says this page is not available or it's not safe. And then there was a small window that said, click here if you want to bypass this. And on top of that, Twitter later tweeted out a tweet saying that they will review their policy about stolen data. And that destroys all of WikiLeaks and the portion of the Young Turks, Ken Klippenstein. And we don't want our, that just torpedoes any kind of investigative journalism.
Right.
If Twitter were to do that.
Right. So, I mean, it's funny, you said WikiLeaks, and I've seen people make this argument, and I want to reach out to the wino moms who watch this show, who of course think like, oh, good, WikiLeaks shouldn't be shared. Oh, good, Assange is a traitor. And, I guess if I want to reach out to wino moms, I shouldn't call them wino moms because that may be alienating. But I do think that a lot of libs are like, great, sounds good. Let's kill a bunch of birds with one censorship stone. We can make sure that this story about Hunter doesn't come out. We can make sure WikiLeaks don't come out. And then Biden will win. And also, if only we had done that, Hillary would have won. But what's your argument to that?
Do you prefer all of Earth's democracies? Like, it's a choice between all of democracy on Earth and whether or not you want to protect Biden, Hillary, whatever.
Right.
Because that just sets up a precedent, and then we're going to then we know from past experiences that they're way more likely to censor Telesur than any Nazi site. They're going to censor me, you, who speak against U.S. foreign policy. So it's going to hit the left, and it'll only empower the right and just put us faster in the spin.
Right.
We don't want to give Facebook and Twitter that much power.
Right. I mean, also, just as an example, like Trump's tax returns, would that be allowed to be released? There are two issues. One is it's a total double standard, but if this were applied evenly, I assume that, because how wasn't there, do we know where those came from?
Those were leaks too.
So is it disinformation? God, that word means nothing these days.
Trump would argue that it is disinformation.
Right.
And of course, Twitter and Facebook both have this urge to seem fair and balanced. So in order to seem fair and balanced, they'll they'll totally censor that.
Right.
I just remember Reddit, when they were getting rid of the Donald, they also got rid of the Chapo Trap House Reddit as to make it look even.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. But again, people would probably be happy with this. But by the way, Garden Gnome says, treating, and this is very true, treating drug addiction as a medical rather than a criminal issue would go a long way to helping everyone, not just rich kids. Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I just thought it was really scary. And a lot of people were kind of like, didn't have their, I don't know. Neera Tanden, for instance, I don't think she actually, oh, here's Jack. Jack is back. All right, Jack, don't tease us anymore. Are you here to stay?
I think so.
I can't get
freezing on me
attached and then just to have you leave.
I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be good.
Right. MSM, whether you believe it or not, it's true. Evidence is just a conspiracy theory. I don't know. I think okay. So yeah, we're talking about the dangers of doing this thing and how Neera Tanden obviously was happy that Twitter intervened and Facebook intervened. But Esha, did you follow like Twitter's change of heart?
Yeah. I also followed later that evening. It seems like them messing with their algorithm caused massive downtime for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it really drives me nuts when people like Senator Warren and other congressional members ask Mark Zuckerberg for help as opposed to legislating.
Right.
Mark Zuckerberg, since that is their job to legislate.
Yeah. Keep going. Sorry.
So it doesn't mean that you allow every crazy conspiracy theory site, but you have a democratic process that's well thought through and has broad approval instead of whatever Mark Zuckerberg wants to do because he's panicking.
Right.
Right.
And what would that look like? Or what could that look like?
For example, we could...
Well, first of all, I just want to give a shout out. I think that we should have a bill called the Pow Chow bill, and it should immediately ban anyone who has ever tweeted a snake emoji with in reference to Senator Warren. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Well,
idea.
We could have citizens councils monitoring the content instead of whatever private person Mark Zuckerberg chooses. There could also be some kind of local board where, for example, if you're living in, I can't think of a city, but name me a city. What? San Francisco. You can elect your board of overseers, and they can make sure that like certain weird anti-homeless content doesn't come to your kids. But if you're living in I just don't, can we give
Boston,
you can actually censor white nationalist militias from coming into your kid like that. That would be one of the options. It's just that you can't have Zuckerberg pick it because he's going to pick Tucker Carlson's and Bellingcat to be the truth checkers. Mm-hmm. And there are so many configurations. We can do it locally. We can do it by region. We can do it by volunteer. It could be like a rating where it's like rated R or rated PG-13. You can rate different things, different pages on Facebook. So it doesn't mean you're unregulating it, but it means that you, the people, are in charge of how it's regulated, as opposed to being at the mercy of Mark Zuckerberg's whims.
Right. Jack, as someone who's worked on the Jimmy Kimmel show, which is, the connection there is powerful, I guess. Do you have any insight?
On what? On
into Mark Zuckerberg or social media? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know why. In my brain, it made so much sense, and it was very quick.
Look, I do think something I learned from being at the show and at the world of entertainment or whatever is that it's like there is a sort of different, they know the phone numbers for these companies. You know what I mean? Like that's really the difference between the tech guys, at these sort of, at the places that sort of work for big corporations, and everybody else is they can get people from Twitter and YouTube on the phone, you know what I mean? And they actually get invited to the campus and asked what would be good if the platform would do for them and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's if you ever search for anything comedy, you'll find nothing but all the shitty late night shows, and that's where they get most of their views these days. And so, I mean, I guess the big difference is that it's Twitter and all these websites have no interest in ever speaking to you as an individual human being. But, if you are a fellow company, you can actually maybe kind of interface with them directly.
Yeah.
I just remember the time when his name is Raphael. I can't remember.
Oh, yes. Yes. Shmoon, I'll look it up. Okay. He's very active with JFreg and stuff.
So when Ellen DeGeneres hosted War Criminal Bush, he put up this really fun, really great montage of all the war crimes in Iraq. And and what Ellen did was that she did a copyright claim. Yeah. And by the basic minimum of copyright, they teach you first day of copyright class. What Raphael did is absolutely the point of the fair use doctrine. He made a social commentary. It was creative. There is no way he infringed on her copyright. But Twitter just assumed that she was right because she had the copyright because she's more powerful, and they took down his video. So that's an example.
And there's basically no recourse for that because it's if you're just an individual person, it's
right.
For all intents and purposes, it might as well be the law that Ellen, can pull it down because the alternative is going into a legal battle with Ellen and the Warner Brothers company, over getting your Twitter video put up. Even if you are 1000% legally in the right, they're just going to take it down.
A lawyer costs $500 an hour.
I know, exactly.
Warner Brothers has a team of in-house lawyers, 20 lawyers just working full-time for them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's just, that this is corporations basically have a different set of laws for themselves than everybody else.
Right.
And that makes so much sense because two corporations can litigate out copyright issues, but for you just have to, if a corporation tries to do a copyright takedown, you can't afford to even get 1 hour of a lawyer.
It's an algorithm. It's all algorithm based too. You know what I mean? It's they just take it down because it matches an algorithm. Unless, with the Ellen thing, that was them specifically asking for it to be taken down. But so much of it is just it matches an algorithm of, something that matches their content, and then it just gets taken down without question.
Yeah. And it's, by the way, it's Raphael Shimonov, and I put a link to his Twitter in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about people who are there, Jack, you talked about this when we had Shahid Buttar on, we talked about cancel culture. He we were saying how like there are people who have their hearts in the right places, like they mean well. And in this case, I think there are people who mean well. And this was brought up, Esha, the last time I had you on was actually to talk about this case with Steven Crowder.
Oh, yeah.
And Carlos, do you remember his last name?
Maza,
No,
yeah.
Thank you,
Maza.
yes.
Yeah.
Carlos Maza. And Carlos Maza, I mean, it was a big controversy over whether or not Steven Crowder should be allowed to basically broadcast what he was broadcasting, which is like so incredibly stupid. And I was on Alan Combs with him once, and he was so dumb. He's so dumb. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's an audience for that. Yeah. But, a lot of people were like, felt very bad that, he was saying bad things about Carlos Maza. And we're like, yeah, we can't allow hate speech. And I mean, he was calling him a lispy queer, which is not nice. But I have to say, I thought that was a weird case too. Like there are things, if I want to convince people that YouTube should be regulated, there's a lot of things that I would use as my kind of poster child for that argument, and wouldn't be calling someone a lispy queer. If I'm on the fence about this, or if I'm anti-censorship, I don't think I'm going to hear them be like, you know what, actually there's got to draw the line somewhere. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And you, Esha, were very clear on why you thought that was not a good idea.
Because he was a Vox journalist, and he was appealing to YouTube to be more authoritarian. Right. That's hey, censor more journalism. I mean, Steven Crowder's not journalism, but for YouTube, he's a journalist. Katie's a journalist. Jack's a journalist. The algorithm can't tell the difference. And so you don't want to give private companies this much power over what you can watch, your information, your propaganda. Mm-hmm. And as a journalist, I just was mad that he would even think to appeal to YouTube to crack down, as opposed to, hey, Senate, you need to have a hearing about this to figure out how we legislate hate speech.
Right. So how
hey, everybody, go tell Steven Crowder to fuck himself. You know what I mean? Like, everybody go tell him to fuck off, and, go on his channel and say he sucks. You know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, like, trying to be like YouTube, get rid of him. I'm like, how about you just make people try to stop watching him? Like. Well,
I wish I have to find this clip. I don't know if it's around anymore, but I should take screenshots of myself just sitting next to him. That in itself is good enough. But I remember this was when Jan Brewer had that terrible racist police racial profiling law. Remember, in Arizona?
Oh yeah.
And I was criticizing it, and he was like, my mom is an immigrant, okay? It's not racist. And I was like, where's your mom from? And he was like, Canada. I was like, okay, well, I don't know if you get to speak as the son of a persecuted immigrant when your mom is from Canada. And it was really funny because I was on the same show with him and some libertarian guy. And I kept turning to the libertarian guy and being like, okay, you're intellectually honest. I really disagree with you. But can you explain to him why this is racially profiling? And he was like, well, it's true that 90% of the people get turned over will be turned over who are Latino. I was like, thank you. Like, I was like, Steven Crowder made me almost fall in love with the libertarian. That's how bad he is.
I just want to say Canada's not sending us their best. They sent us Ted Cruz, Gavin McGuinness.
Yeah.
Steven Crowder.
True. You're right.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Crowder was born here.
Oh, what about Laura
Crowder's
Southern?
Mom. So.
Laura Loomer?
Yeah.
Canada, you guys aren't sending us your best.
Build that wall, Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Build that wall.
It's about time.
It's about time. No, but we got Aaron Mate. I mean.
Okay. So I guess that makes up for it.
If we can name as many, I think my big campaign is that I want to expose Canada for being as racist as it is, because they really get a lot of wiggle room because they're not the United States, and that's messed up.
Google Justin Trudeau and Arabian Nights.
Okay, there's that, and that's not a good look, but also. That's not a good look, but that is, then there's also just the treatment of the First Nations people there, and like all the missing women who never get looked into. Thunder Bay is a really good podcast, by the way. I keep mentioning that. I want to have him on. But yeah, I think that, so what would you say to people what are the different alternatives? Let's take some questions. Sorry, I got really distracted by something. Anyone have questions for Esha or Jack? Jack, you have any questions for Esha, or Esha, you have any questions for Jack?
How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, long time. The last time we saw you was when I was so I was canvassing, but I got too nervous. So I was driving the person I was canvassing with nuts. So I had to call up Jack and switch so that, because I knew that Jack cannot be driven nuts.
I can. We switched up. We switched partners, and I went with Esha. And I don't think that you didn't drive me nuts. Certainly, it was a fun time. It was good to meet you. And not the best outcome in the end, but it is what it is.
This was in Michigan for Bernie.
Was literally. It was like right 1 week before the world ended, pretty much. It was like you were one of the last human beings I saw before suddenly being indoors for 7 months.
That's exactly how I feel. Yes. And it was there's a lot of things, and I just have some questions about the way everything was run in the primary and what polling stations were open and closed.
Oh, sure.
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There certainly are. But, we'll probably never get any answers to them. And the Democrats, I think, will probably try to kill any other grassroots campaign, like at the natal stage from now on. I think that's the big lesson they learned, is that they really need to crush these people's movements very, very effectively before they get too big.
That's why we as a whole need to stop thinking exclusively about electoralism and think about direct action. So direct action is anything you personally directly do. Like, for example, striking is a direct action. I don't know, you playing the trumpet outside of Trump's towers is a direct action.
Sure. Protesting is a direct action. Yeah.
As opposed to like going through our legislator. And if you check our newsletters, our newsletters, you will see that that a lot of victories, like the 8-hour workday, ban on child labor, and ending some measures for integration, they were all from the labor movement through direct action. So
I do feel, I feel good about the American left, and the sort of the movement of the American left. But if you are looking at electorally, especially at the national level, you're like, it's very, very dire. It's very, very dire. So, best to focus on something else.
Oh yeah, direct action. And it doesn't even, I just don't even care who you vote for. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry.
Well,
where do you live? I think Joe Biden's going to win.
Oh, New York.
So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. You're registered in New York, Esha. Okay. So it really doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay. That's, I'm sorry. Whatever. We're not getting into the dumb privilege discourse because that's stupid. We are. Yeah. So I really just wish people would stop having the same dumb argument over and over, when what really actually got any change was unions and workers.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. But the unions are not so hot right now. And they're like just DNC. What's the word?
Shills.
What is it?
Shills.
Shills. Yeah. But what is it when you have like an outpost? They're kind of like
fifth column.
Fifth column. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So what are we going to do about that? That's the other thing. How are we going to revive the labor movement? Let's just go big or go home. We're just taking on every question here on this.
I guess the
narrow focus.
Best way to revive the labor movement is we need to have unemployed. Well, since the biggest, we can't, instead of the employed people's labor union, we need to create an unemployed people's labor union, because there's going to be 30 million people.
Right.
And we can, if we can somehow connect all of them together under one organization, they're a big block. They literally can block things from food from coming into Washington, D.C. and stuff like that, which will force people to some kind of negotiation. But the way I see it, gig workers need to be, gig workers could just form their own worker co-op and and have that stupid app built. But yeah, unemployed gig workers, irregular employees who sometimes get 5 hours and then nothing. And so those are at least, if you add all that, that's about 80 million people.
Wow. All right. So how are we going to start this? What's it going to be called?
It's going to be called, I don't know, some Katie Workers Union? Unemployed Union.
Yeah.
Yeah. Non-workers union.
Yes, non-workers union.
That makes it sound like it's a corporate executive union or something.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, maybe we can trick them into joining and get some financing.
Yes. Do you identify as not a worker?
Me?
No. Sorry. I was thinking of their ad. Of their PSA.
I'm like, I guess, if I think about it, maybe I identify as not a worker.
Right. Then join the non-workers union. We're an elite selective organization that only takes from
the unemployed, the elite growing unemployed.
Yes, the vanguard, the vanguard
of the new.
That's too scary. What is it?
The new unemployed. The new unemployed.
What's it called when you? I'm a little tired today. What's it called? Frontier trailblazing. The trailblazing unemployed.
Yeah, that's
what? I think this is a great moment to bring in our guest, who I've known for a long time, and I'm really can't believe she's here a minute early. I was prepared to have her show up an hour late. The best organizer. I mean, not only is this guest, Ava Farkas, an amazing organizer, but the fact that she's been such an amazing organizer and she's overcome lateness. I mean, that is like, she should be the face of the late movement. Yeah. And I say that as someone, as you probably know, is late myself. So I late identify. I am late. I'm going to bring into the stream Ava Farkas, executive director of the Metropolitan Council on Housing. Ava, welcome.
Glad to be here.
I like your shirt. Early. Very sensible. You should write Met Council on Housing in your title, by the way, or I can do it. I just want people to know where you're.
Does it work like Zoom where I can change my?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you see it? There's the 3 dots next to the microphone. And I can also do it. And by the way, while we're doing, I'll do it. And while we're doing that, Esha, could you, if this is possible, is there a way to move your mic so that it's not in front of your face as much? If not, it's fine. I just want people to be able to see your punum.
Me, I should leave the mic right where.
Oh wait, actually, can I hold on? Let me see, Jack.
Mine is really. It has to be close. I was just joking.
Yeah, but I don't think yours is in front. Either it's not as in front of your face. I'm in another window now.
Everyone's used to me being behind the mic all the time.
I think that may be it.
I think that's what it is.
Better.
Let's see.
That's great.
Okay.
The 3 dots. I found them.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay.
Should I
Ava,
my Twitter or just the name of my organization?
I mean, I think it's good the way I just set you up. What do you think?
Oh, you set it up. Got it.
Yeah. Actually, because you can't click on these, why don't I just put in?
Is there too much in my background? Like, should I move that IKEA bag? Laundry.
I thought you said that IKEA bed. I was like, I think that's a little heavy, probably a bit of a heavy lift.
Did I rearrange my?
Yeah, roommater. We're gonna have roommater on.
Get a set up.
Yeah. Can you? Yeah, we'll give you about 10 minutes to move the bed around. If you want to move it around, but no, you're fine. I can kick you out if you want, so you have some time to feng shui your setup.
No, I think it's okay. Maybe I want to move that bag.
All right, do it.
It's okay. It's okay.
Are you gonna be distracted the whole time?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
So
I need the book. I need like the bookshelf look.
You need the shelves. Everybody has the shelves these days.
I have the power broker. I could just hold that.
Yeah, hold it. Put it on just tape it to your back. Like go around your torso a bunch of times with tape. So Ava, we were just talking about Esha, who now I can see her, but now her face is cut up. Just come close. Okay, that's good. There she is. All right. Esha and Ava meet each other. Whoa. Esha and Ava. Okay.
Wow.
Look, I can get rid of that bag. I just move my.
Perfect. That's the magic of filmmaking. No one would even know there's a bag right there. Oh, yeah. No one would even know.
In the bag. People want to know.
There we go.
Is it laundry or something?
Laundry.
All right. So you're cleaning house. You're cleaning airing the laundry. Someone said Dwayne Slack says the bag makes you look casual. You know what? I'm gonna kick you out and you move the bag. Okay.
I already moved my screen.
You moved the screen. We're all set.
Okay. Sorry. All right. Well, thank you for the feedback. Who said it was? Thank you, Dwayne Slack. We know that, and I can't stop looking at the bag now. But is the bag visible?
No,
it's not there anymore.
You know what? All of you bag gaslighters.
I'll move it. Okay. I'm going to go back.
Yeah,
right.
we're going to
get. Do you want me to keep the camera on you? All right. Or do you want me to?
No, because I only wore a fancy shirt.
Pants. You're not wearing pants? Okay, I'm going to kick you out.
I'm wearing sweatpants.
Oh my God. Okay, you sure you don't want to debut in sweatpants? It's kind of cool. All right, I'll remove you. It's funny because I said you were wearing a sensible shirt. That's kind of ironic. Okay, I'm removing you. It's not my OCD. I don't care. It's everyone else. It's your OCD. I don't care. That bag is your blue check. I love this. Guys. So Ava, she is wearing I really want to turn the camera on, but I can't do that, right?
No, that wouldn't be nice.
No, that wouldn't be consent.
That wouldn't be right. That wouldn't be right.
That'd be wrong. Especially as someone who's known Ava for so long. Jack is like my moral Northern Star.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
North Star or Northern Star?
I'm your Jiminy. I'm your Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
I'm a little Jiminy Cricket. Yeah, I guess so. Interesting.
Actually, next time we got to frame it so it's not in front of your face as much.
What, me with the mic?
Yeah.
Mine is a dynamic mic, so it's I have to be pretty close to it. It's a
but
like
can't you put it under you
mic.
Or to the side?
It's really a style choice that I make.
Yeah, I mean, this mic I have to be within. It's
what happened, Esha? We'd set it up, and now what happened?
Well, no, I just had to go up a little bit because the thing is only 3 inches.
Oh,
because otherwise it gets room noise and everyone else's noise, and this is a quiet mic.
Can you move it? Oh no, you can't. All right, fine, it's fine.
I can move it. Is this okay? I can move it here. Is this okay?
Yes, that's great.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, then this is what
thank you, Olympia Logic, who says love Esha, have her often. I will. Okay, Ava, you're back, and I also Kelly says, where is it? Kelly's comment. Wow, guys, I thought I was having a panic attack, but now I feel like we're all having one.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Glad that everyone can join in.
Curious Carl writes, I don't even have a mic and now I'm anxious about my mic placement.
My mic, this is where my mic goes pretty much, for everything I do.
Psychit 766 channel. I don't know why I'm reading this because it's more hate speech, but you need one. You need one. You're one step. I
don't really even get it.
You're one step from pun Tourette's.
I'm not.
You know
sure
what?
If I get
Come
it.
at me with syntactically correct hate speech. All right, I'm bringing back Ava Farkas. Ava, welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you,
Ava. Welcome back. Now that you don't have your bag, you've changed. Your energy has really changed.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
I'm
you.
less
So
burdened.
blessed.
I'm less weighed down by all the objects around me.
Yeah. Excuse me. So Ava, you are the executive director of the Met Council on Housing. You're an award-winning organizer. And that's not even with people who've given you that award don't even know about your lateness syndrome. So that's like you're that much more impressive.
Well, they do know. Everybody knows.
But they're not giving
really
it to you.
I can't
hide it. But they're not giving it to you. It's not like the greatest organizing among late people. It's like just a great organizer.
Right.
I'm saying you overcome, it's like you have to work twice as hard as a late person. People who are on time don't get that. All right. So tell us, please, what you are up to, because you are, of course, the executive director of this great housing organization. And housing is a big issue right now. So what is going on? And people, if you have questions for Ava, she's based in New York and her organization is New York based. But New Yorkers, if you have any questions, and then, of course, non-New Yorkers, if you have questions, maybe she'll be able to answer them. I don't know, but she'll try. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. So what is happening right now around housing and talk about the situation kind of globally, I guess, or nationally at least, and then let's zoom in to New York, and then let's really zoom into Manhattan's Upper West Side. Okay.
Well, I'm going to start with New York. Sure. I mean, it's where our organization works, and it's what we're most familiar with. So there are over 1 million tenants who have had trouble paying their rent, which doesn't come as a surprise to, I'm sure, many listeners, and probably a lot of people out there have had trouble paying the rent. And housing right now is critical for fighting this. Like, keeping people in their homes should be like a top priority of our governor and of our legislative leaders. Housing right now is critical to healthcare. So it should be a top priority to keep people who have homes in their homes, and then to house anyone who doesn't have a home right now. And so the economic impacts and the health impacts of the pandemic have resulted in over 1 million tenants who can't pay rent across New York State. And organizations like ours and other tenant organizations across the state, we've been fighting ever since the beginning of the pandemic to make sure that no one's evicted, and then to have like a real solution to all the debt that people are going to rack up throughout this crisis. So what we don't want to see is that, people, months from now have like a year in back rent that they have to pay, that they're never going to be able to pay, that they're like racking up credit card debt, they're depleting their savings just to pay landlords who already make too much money, in our opinion, and have been making too much money for years, and really exploit renters in New York City and make a ton of profit. Don't invest in repairs. Their the rent always goes up whether or not people's wages go up, and we think that that's fundamentally unfair.
Ava, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Do you know the breakdown between large corporations being landlords versus actual landlords, like somebody who houses less than 3 to 5 people?
The majority of rental units are owned by major landlords. I don't know the exact breakdown of like what percentage of landlords are sort of quote unquote small mom and pop landlords, but it's really the exception to the rule now in places like New York City. And the rent, like, we've been in a rental crisis for decades, so that's just been compounded by the pandemic. So basically, we've been putting pressure on Cuomo and other elected leaders to come up with real solutions and bold solutions to such a pressing crisis. And basically, the governor just recently there was an eviction moratorium in place since the beginning of the pandemic that prevented the filing of any eviction cases. That now has been changed. And so starting October 12th, evictions are slowly starting to move forward again in housing court. And basically what is in place are a series of defenses that tenants can use, but those are really going to be more successful if tenants have legal help and if they have like a favorable judge. So, that doesn't protect the most vulnerable tenants out there. People will have to prove they lost income due to COVID-19, which is hard for people working in like the informal sector, hard for undocumented tenants. And it's hard for people anywhere outside of New York City to really get legal assistance and representation. So we're calling on the governor and the legislature to do 2 major things. One is put back in place a true eviction moratorium so that no evictions can be filed during the state of emergency and up to a year after. And then we're also calling on a real solution that will not leave tenants saddled with debt by basically canceling rent and having landlords who are suffering an economic loss have to apply to the state for some money. But they would have to show that they're really like suffering and that they lost major income from their tenants. But we basically don't want the burden to be on tenants to have to file all this paperwork and jump through hoops, which is always something that like is really inaccessible to the most vulnerable tenants. And so we want to put the burden on landlords instead. And those are like the 2 major things that we're fighting for.
All right. And Ava, I found a photo of you, by the way. I was looking for a photo of you, not to blow you up your spot. I found a photo of you with a de Blasio sign.
Yeah, I mean, 8 years ago, he was better than the other options. Quinn.
Yeah, it's true. I just laughed. Yeah.
Yeah.
tell us about, from the housing perspective, though, what do you think of de Blasio and Cuomo?
I think de Blasio has like disappointed everybody and like across all sectors of society.
He's a uniter in that way, yeah.
Everybody can agree that we hate de Blasio. He's done a few decent things. So he controls who's appointed to the rent guidelines board. And that's the board that decides rent increases for the million rent stabilized apartments in New York City. And there's been 2 rent freezes during like the course of his, appointees' time on the board. And most recently, there was another rent freeze for leases happening this year. So, he has, I think been more receptive to trying to tackle, like slow down the increase in rents. Like that's definitely different from Bloomberg. But his whole, he's still really invested in this whole like model of like a public-private partnership of how to get how to create more affordable housing, which has looked like taking land from public housing that like the city actually owns and privatizing it so developers can make a big profit and we can get like a small sliver of like affordable units from that, and rezoning and upzoning all these industrial areas so that big high-rise buildings can be built, again with like a majority of the units being market rate and a smaller amount being affordable. So his solutions are not very progressive, and things like actually the Upper West Side debacle is like a perfect example of like he's caving to like these wealthy Upper West Siders who are saying essentially like that they should determine like who's worthy or not worthy of being in their neighborhood, and who want to kick out the homeless families from the Lucerne Hotel where they're being temporarily housed, which is totally despicable and racist and awful.
I saw them on at Central Park West where they had this vile, I believe it was some radio host, and they were demonizing the homeless population, calling them drug addicts, and these are all so-called liberal Upper West Side ladies that
it's awful. And they hired a lawyer who worked for the Giuliani administration, and threatened to sue the city, and then de Blasio just caves and says like he's gonna move the people living there. And there's actually an emergency action happening tomorrow because buses are coming to start transferring people. And so
that's
Upper West Siders with Open Hearts, I think is their name, of the like group that's supporting the people at the hotel. A lot of people are like rallying tomorrow in front of the hotel.
They should do like a human chain.
Yeah, I think they might. I don't know.
Oh, I shouldn't say that in case, yeah. They're not going to do anything. They're not even coming. No one's even showing up. Yeah. That's really embarrassing. So you have a Democratic mayor who's not even standing up. Like they don't even have to sue. Like what's the point of what the hell why did de Blasio do that?
I don't know. I mean, de Blasio, I just feel like I don't know why he's making any of the decisions he's making right now. I mean, defending the police for like after they like drove a car into like Black Lives Matter protesters.
God.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's really disappointing. And and the governor is equally terrible when it comes to tenant and housing issues. Just has ignored the homelessness crisis has totally ballooned under his administration. We're up to 93,000 homeless New Yorkers across the state. And it's just it just doesn't seem to be a priority for his administration. And I think ultimately a lot of the solutions to the housing crisis necessitate raising revenue, and the governor does not want to tax wealthy people more. And I think that's sort of one of the motivations behind his policies and his stances.
Yeah, the last time you were on, Ava, you said that, Cuomo basically governs as he's an austerity governor, and neoliberal austerity budget, austerity agenda. And of course pretends to be, because he's not Trump. So that makes him way better.
Yeah. I mean, the contrast, the CDC, ironically, the Centers for Disease Control put out an eviction moratorium before the governor even took action to extend to figure out what was going to happen with evictions in New York State. So honestly, I don't think there's that much difference policy wise. I think tenant issues really get ignored on a national level and on a local level. Although I think the tenant movement has built more power, and we're, a year ago in June of 2019, we really expanded tenant protections and strengthened rent stabilization, and the real estate industry is furious at their loss in that battle. So I think as a whole, tenants and renters are increasing their power in New York State. And
are tenant councils legal in New York City?
Do you mean tenant associations?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. Every tenant has a right to organize without any interference from their landlord. They can use common areas in their building to have meetings. Yes, absolutely.
And how much has tenant organizing been weakened versus strengthened by the pandemic and this utterly urgent emergency situation that we're living in?
Yeah, I think in some ways, our organization has seen a real expansion actually, and more interest from people in organizing as tenants. So we doubled our email list through online petitions calling for the cancellation of rent. And I think a lot of people who didn't have the time because they were so busy at work now have the time and are at home and have started organizing with their neighbors more. So we've gotten a lot of tenants reaching out to us who have lost income, who can't pay the rent. We have a hotline, so we talk to people 4 days a week. And so I think there's been a real increase overall in the city. We talk to people sort of in every neighborhood, and I definitely think there's been an increase in people's interest in organizing and thinking about their housing more and becoming more politicized about it as well.
And what about on the national level, in the Trump Biden, are there differences in their housing positions?
I don't even know if Biden has what sort of his housing agenda is. I think nationally there's more awareness now that something has to be done about the pandemic and about preventing this crisis of eviction that could happen nationally and increase in homelessness. But I just don't see, it's just disappointing. I don't think either candidate or I don't ever really think that housing is taken seriously as a federal issue. And public housing is something that absolutely has to be dealt with federally, because there's a ban on building any new public housing nationally. So we basically can't get out of the affordability crisis and the housing crisis and the homelessness crisis unless there's major changes happening federally.
When did the ban begin? I did not realize this.
I'm pretty sure under Reagan. I'm gonna take a guess, but it's been in place for a long time.
Safe guess.
What did you say?
Why can't
Safe
federal
guess.
government just use the takings clause and take all the empty houses?
That's a great idea. They do that in other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we work with many groups in New York City who've had very similar ideas. There's lots of underutilized property in New York City. There's a lot of luxury apartments that are vacant, and that should not be the case when we have a pandemic and when there's 93,000 homeless New Yorkers that are sleeping on the streets. So yeah, I mean, the system doesn't make any sense. Housing as a for-profit industry makes no sense. And especially now, I think more people are realizing that you can't prioritize public health and then also have housing as a commodity and something that is a business.
Can you speak on that more? Talk about why you can't have housing as a commodity.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
and another related to that. Sorry,
no, go ahead.
Related to that is the intersection between housing and health.
Yeah. Well, I think like you can't have housing as a commodity because the interests of landlords are just at odds with the interests of like public health and well-being and keeping people safe in their homes, because landlords need to maximize profit. They want to see a rent increase every year. They want to see like return on their investments. And then that is at odds with like people being able to like afford where they live and stay in their neighborhoods and send their kids to the same schools year after year and put down roots in a community. So I just think, yeah, those things are really diametrically opposed. I mean, how housing is connected to health, I think there's like so many factors, the quality of housing. There's like so many environmental ways that poor quality housing has an impact on people's health, from having cockroaches or mice causing asthma, lead paint, things like that. Like pretty basic conditions can really impact people's health. And then I think like mental health, having enough space, like making sure like your whole family doesn't have to share a studio apartment and kids can study in their own room and have enough like space to learn and play. And I think like the stress of having to deal with problems from your landlord, like having to go to housing court is a really, really stressful experience for people. Disruptive. You have to miss days of work. So I think just housing insecurity is really, really tied to like overall health for individuals and families.
We got some really interesting responses to that question. So Nevea Jones says, as a social worker, you can't help stabilize a mentally ill person until they are housed. Monetizing dissent, I'm not sure what this is from, if this is true. If there's a study from this, but day one of homelessness equals mental health decline. And then Sanska, oops, why does that happen when I'm trying to click on someone? Sanska Carioca, light, clean air, noise, right? All of those affect, obviously, mental health and well-being. But also, I mean, if you're not, doesn't this also pose a COVID threat to have people, I mean, I don't want to say this in a way that makes it seem like I'm making unhoused people sound dangerous, but isn't it like, shouldn't people be housed don't like rich fancy people want people to be housed?
You would think so. Like the people, I think like the cases at the hotels, like it's proving to really be successful because there haven't been cases of COVID at the hotels where homeless New Yorkers are being temporarily housed. So yeah, you would think like, okay, that shows this is working and that's successful. Whereas at shelters, people can't socially distance and it's really dangerous for people to be in shelters.
Yeah.
And there's going to be like more hotspots coming out of those shelters. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you would think like, yeah, you would think that people would see this in the interest of themselves and everybody, and public good.
Right. And Brad Bloom, you say for every homeless person in NYC, there are 3 empty housing units.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Yeah. And what about the way that this is affecting, do you think this is making the case? Well, hold on. Do you think this is, I was going to ask if this is making it clearer that housing should not be a commodity, but let me actually just read some questions and comments, okay? Let's see. Where should I start? Hold on. Okay.
Meanwhile, can I ask Ava one more question?
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people misunderstand shelters. Like shelters have a lot of restrictions that make it hard for a lot of people to be accepted. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm definitely not an expert in the shelter system, but I do know, right, that there's like, you have to have like no other place you could go. Like if you're like sleeping on a relative's couch, for example, like I believe like the shelter system doesn't really count that as being homeless. Like you have to have like no options. Yeah, and then there's lots of shelters where I know like you can only stay a certain amount of time, you have to leave, you have to come back, or I think like sort of the main, what I've heard some like awesome homelessness advocates talking about is like a shelter should be thought of as like a very temporary measure, like it's like a crisis. It's like when there's like a natural disaster, right? Like people lose their homes and they have to like be in temporary shelters. But this now has been like a shelter has been the substitute for like actual real housing and real solutions to the housing crisis and affordability crisis. And it's totally like, we should not accept that as a society. We should not accept that people have to live in this like temporary and very like unstable type of housing arrangement. And especially like families, like kids who have to learn now remotely, like most shelters don't have like Wi-Fi for kids to like actually be able to then like learn and take classes. Like it's like a terrible, terrible, terrible solution to the housing crisis. So we all have to fight for real investment in social housing and housing that's not for profit and not going to make any developer rich.
Yeah. Before I read some questions, Ava, once you were on a radio show with me and someone called in and they asked a question about like why you were vilifying landlords, and you're like, "Can I ask you a question, sir?" And he was like, "Yeah." And you're like, "Are you a landlord?" And he was like, "Well, yeah, yes." Like, so what are the landlord talking points? And can you debunk any of them and any of the most commonly used talking points and myths used by landlords?
Oh God. So many. Like main one is like if we don't make money, you know, tenants can't live in like decent homes, you know, right. We need money to make repairs, you know, we use your rent, like we reinvest your rent in the building, which is like a total lie, because the same landlords who say that have like tons of like violations, ceilings falling down, you know, like clearly they're not reinvesting that rent money, they're pocketing it. So I think that's like the top myth is like, and elected officials often believe this, that like they need our rent money to reinvest in the buildings, and they're doing, you know, they're working really hard.
They believe it, or they're paid to believe it, right?
Yeah, they get a lot of donations.
Not realize it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say that's one. I think another is, you know, landlords saying that right now for the crisis, what they advocate is they want some type of way that the government will give like a payment to anyone who hasn't been able to pay the rent, so that they can get, you know, so that they can pay their rent. Because again, like if landlords can't make rent money, then like the whole sort of like system's going to crumble. And yeah, we fundamentally like disagree with that, because one, like I said, we think landlords have been making excess profits for so long that they can afford to take a hit. So many other industries are taking a hit. Like, why should the New York City real estate industry be bailed out by our taxpayer dollars? Two, any type of means testing of tenants is going to leave the most vulnerable tenants behind, whether it's based on like language access or immigration status. We don't want any New Yorkers to be left behind from a solution to having trouble paying the rent. And so we think like landlords should have to apply if they're facing some hardship. You know, they can open their books, they can show the government how hard it is for them to get by, how they can't maintain their buildings, and then they can get some assistance.
Yeah.
But we don't think that should be prioritized to like major landlords and huge real estate companies. Like small landlords should like get the help first, and then, you know, so on. But I think those are some of the myths. I think also like, well, their main myth is sort of based around this like racist idea of like, similar to Trump, like this fear about like the suburbs, like crime increasing. So they often will say like, there's going to be disinvestment. Real estate's going to disinvest in New York City, and then like the 70s are going to come back, and like people are going to burn buildings, and like crime's going to go up. So they kind of use this like dog whistle racist idea narrative about New York City, which also wasn't true. Like landlords burn their own buildings, and so they could collect the money. Like they did that.
Kulaks.
So I think that's kind of like their frame is like, we're important, you know, gentrification is important. It makes the city better for everybody, when like it really makes our city much more segregated and like stratified, and pushes poor and working people to the like periphery of the city.
Also, it's a very common myth, right? That, oh, you can't, like, real estate companies are going to leave unless we let them do whatever they want, right? They're going to leave the city.
I think people are going to want to be in New York City, no matter what.
Also, nothing happens when real estate companies leave. It has been done before in other cities before.
And what happens?
Absolutely not. Everyone gets free housing.
Oh, really? Interesting. All right.
No, I mean, there have been cities that have nationalized, like...
Oh, right.
Caracas has nationalized a lot of their real estate, and now 2 million more people have houses that they didn't. So if they leave, let them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of landlords abandoned buildings in the 80s, and the city became the landlord of buildings. And now what grew out of that was like a new type of limited equity co-op system. So those tenants there, by and large, became owners of their own apartments, and, you know, can't really sell them at profit. They remain affordable. So like you're saying, like new systems can be invented. Like if real estate leaves, like honestly, that should not strike fear in our hearts. That should be like, well, that could be a real opportunity to like reimagine how housing could be.
JJFSX, I watch a guy in New York who has a small business and does a YouTube channel. He rode his bike around New York showing how landlords leave buildings empty for decades rather than make them cheaper to rent. Let's see. Someone wants me to get on, and I would do this, Kshama Swant or someone from Seattle to talk about our crisis. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah,
really cool says, my cousin is a landlord tenant lawyer, but he reps both sides. Interesting.
We don't recommend that tenants go to those lawyers.
Yeah, sorry, really cool. Sounds like your cousin may be doing something that's not really cool.
Yeah, tell them just to rep tenants.
Yeah, just rep tenants. Pick a side. Commit. It's time to commit. As Porky Sinclair says in Waiting for Guffman, when he can't fit into his pants anymore on the day of the show of Red, White, and Blaine, I'm trying to commit to a side here, dear. Curious Carl, people talk shit on Cuba because their wages are comparatively low, and yet their rate of homelessness is also extremely low. Seems like a fair trade to me.
Oh, I have a really funny story about homelessness in Cuba.
Sounds hilarious.
No, wait. You know the dictator before Castro?
Batista, right?
Batista. Yeah. Google her. Like, him. Batista's granddaughter is actually like she took a loan from American Express, and like things spiraled out, and then she became homeless, while Cuba has solved homelessness. So it's like
she lives in Miami, I'm assuming, or something.
Yeah. Oh, and she had to do a GoFundMe to fund her house, which is like an advertisement for Cuba.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, we wish her well. We don't want to be homeless, but there is some irony and comedy in there. And it is pretty good. GoFunding, having to do a GoFundMe for anything is great PR for Cuba. That's all I'm going to say. I also like Cuba. That sounds like I'm saying like it's PR for the enemy. Why would you do that? But Alex E says NYC still has rent control, I think.
Yeah. Let me just explain for the viewers. It's really important people know this. Yes, New York City has an awesome system of tenant protections, rent control, and rent stabilization. And it covers 1 million apartments. It covers buildings with 6 or more units built before the 1970s. And rent control or stabilization means your rent increases are not determined by the landlord or the free market. They're set by something called the Rent Guidelines Board. And then you have a lot more ways of advocating. You have a state agency that also can freeze your rent, lower your rent if you're not getting repairs, things like that. You have access to like more ways of defending yourself as a tenant. But anyone who's like a renter in New York City should always try to figure out like what their status is. It's not based on like income. It's not based on like where you live. It's really tied to the actual apartment and the history of that building. So we always recommend people get their rent history from the New York State Homes and Community Renewal Agency to determine whether their apartment is rent stabilized.
How do you do that? How do you get that history?
I'll look up the number.
Oh, so there's a number to call.
There's a number you can call.
I told Ava before, I was like, make sure you got the hotline
I wrote down
number.
all these other numbers. I wrote down all these other things.
All right. Well, someone will get it in the chat. Let's put it in the chat. We'll put it in the YouTube also. But say the agency again that they call, or the organization?
Homes and Community Renewal. That's a state agency that administers and
you say, I want my building's history?
You say you want your rent history for your apartment. You can
Not
also
Katie
look
Halper's
up
building history.
You can also look up like something called Who Owns What. It's a website called Who Owns What, and it can tell you basically if your building has rent stabilized units. It doesn't answer the question about your own apartment, because the real estate industry did this sneaky plan of deregulation. So in rent stabilized buildings now, there's certain apartments that have been taken out of rent stabilization because that was the policy for the past 20 years.
Got it. Got it.
So that's what we just reversed a year ago. We like stopped them from being able to deregulate any more apartments.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Don Hawkins, right? Get ready, as this housing problem is just the beginning. Yep. Sounds about right. Let's see. Guys, please like the like button. Please hit the like button. And like it. I want you to hit it and like it. Now that sounds
Give the like button a like.
Yeah, give the like button a like. Like yourself for doing that. Are people fleeing high-priced sections of NYC? That's a question, Ava. But you're looking for something up, so I'll get back to that. Homeless bloomed under Bloomberg, and nobody wants to talk about it. Homeless bloom. It's a thing. It's real. Mm-hmm. Rich people are fleeing, right?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know, like, sort of any quantitative facts about that, but I'd say just anecdotally, like, I live in Upper Manhattan in Inwood, and my neighborhood is normal. There's people doing stuff outside all the time. When I went to Upper West Side, honestly, in the summertime, it was like a ghost town. Like, there was like nobody on the street. So that's just my anecdote. So.
Yeah.
My anecdote is the same. Upper West Side, it seems a lot of people are selling
out. I know. I was selling their houses. As an Upper West Sider, I'm saying that. I don't live on the Upper West Side, and I'm not in New York City now, but I grew up on the Upper West Side. Tender Lungs 206. Seattle just overturned the entire state's $30 tab bill we voted on for like the third or fourth time. Seattle's swampy AF. Let's see. Have live performances left? Oh, great. What is it?
You call 718-739-6400 to request your rent history.
Can you say that again?
718-739-6400.
Thank you. CJ, there are lots of gig jobs throughout the app Civi. 125-hour evicting people.
Oh yeah, it's like
I heard about that.
I know that one. It's an app for hiring the scabs to go and evict people.
Awful.
So it's like a gig. The scabs are being turned into gig economy workers now.
Well, this is
an important thing to know is that marshals actually don't work. They're not public employees. Like, marshals only make money by carrying out evictions. They're hired by landlords to like carry out an eviction. So that's something I didn't know. Like, I didn't realize. I thought marshals were like connected to the police department or like the sheriff but they're like, they literally profit off of evicting people.
Well, this is why we were talking about earlier, how there needs to be a union of unemployed people. That was Esha's idea.
I think the Communist Party is working on that.
There you go.
Yep.
CPUSA, everyone.
Yeah. Can I give another link for people to be able to contact their elected officials if they're in New York State? Should I write in the chat or read it? It's one of those bit.ly links.
Write in the chat, I guess, and read it. Okay. Sorry, I don't have a good system for this yet.
Yeah, it's bit.ly/get-back-to-2 work. And it's a site where you can call your local assembly member, senator, and then the leaders of the state senate and assembly to tell them they need to go back to session. They need to pass a real eviction moratorium and pass the cancel rent bill. They basically just work from January through June. That's like their normal. They work half a year. And even in this pandemic, but they can work more. They can choose to work more. They're not choosing to work more right now. They're choosing to like abdicate their responsibility, let the governor do whatever he wants. And it's totally unacceptable. Like everybody should be outraged that essential workers are going to work and like our state legislature is just like washing its hands right now of any responsibility to decrease the suffering people are going through. So I highly encourage, if you live in anywhere in New York State, to go to this link and then follow our call script to call your rep and talk about housing issues. I'll put it also in our internal chat.
Okay. Oh, in the chat. Okay, Kelly, if you're seeing that, can you post these in the comments? Durgiz Ramirez says, "Why would politicians care about housing if they have no need?" Good point. Was a time when public housing wasn't a horror story with redlining adjacent goals. Smash that like button. Again, smash that like button. Curious Carl, I feel like the profit motive might be the problem here. Oh well, I'm sure there aren't 2 centuries of scholarship addressing this exact issue. If I had seen the sarcastic tone, I wouldn't have read that. Pandemic is putting all kinds of holes in this cruel society. Or maybe you weren't being sarcastic towards me, but towards the bad guys. Okay, which is fine. Because housing is a healthcare issue. Yep, we definitely got to that.
Oh, there's Esteban. You could ask him.
Hi.
Ask him about the unemployed council.
Great. Hi, Esteban. It would be great if it was possible to make a profit of affordable housing. Wouldn't be a shortage.
I don't think there's a shortage because landlords keep making lots of houses, but they want luxury housing, so they just kind of leave it empty.
Right.
So in San Francisco, for example, there's absolutely no housing shortage. You do not need to build an extra house in many, many, many cities.
Wow. Yeah. Let's see. Eminent domain, all private property to the state's ends. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. It is a good idea. Yep. Oz whistles. Commodities are exchange value. Housing is only use value. Canada had an experiment on giving homeless money, and they had great success getting them home and possibilities. Yeah, what do you think of UBI, Ava?
Am I frozen?
No, you're there.
Okay. You're good. I think that it's a great idea. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think like everybody should have a basic. Sorry, I'm just reading something. I mean, I think it makes sense. I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, I think unemployment is too low. I think like you should not only be eligible for like economic support if you've lost a job. Like, I think everybody needs a certain level of economic stability to live a decent life and to pursue other things. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
But without being attached sorry.
And I also think, just to that person's point, like I was talking to a woman who like works helping people who are currently homeless, like find employment and find housing. And she was just saying it makes no sense. There's a lot of emphasis on people finding work, not housing first, but like it's really hard to find work, or like housing is kind of like the basic like necessity you need, and then you can like do other things in life. But like that's not how like our society or system looks at it. Like, you know, housing needs to be like one of your needs. What?
It's the reward for getting a job.
Yeah, instead of like, how can you get a good job if you don't have like decent housing?
JJFSX, I got a gig job taking pics of properties in distress. It was dangerous and net pay was lower than minimum wage, like $5 per hour. No benefits, use my own car, no gas, reimbursed. No gas reimbursed. I quit.
While we're talking about the gig economy, for people in California, the gig worker, they're trying to make gig workers like Uber is spending millions. So vote no on Proposition 22.
That's right. I will be.
Yeah. Info from Ava, tenant harassment number 718-739-6400.
It's not tenant harassment number. That's the number to get your rent history.
Sorry.
But
info from Ava, history number.
But if you are dealing with issues, you can call our hotline. Our organization has a hotline. I'm going to put that number too and say it out loud. But we take calls from tenants all around New York City, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And our number is 212-979-0611. That's the number for the Met Council on Housing. I'll put it in the chat too. That's our hotline in English and Spanish.
Nice. Let's see. From a purely economic perspective, it costs less to house everyone than to have a homeless population. Similar story with mass incarceration. Yeah, it's true. Another thing.
But then people don't I mean, that's why the like profit motive is totally at odds, because then
this is extremely important. Right. It's not like it's good for most people economically. That's always just good for certain people. And then they convince the rest of the world that it's good for everyone, right? Am I right? Hello. Sorry. Okay. Am I right? Come on. Okay. Carib mouth, this is the point I was trying to lead you to make, Ava. My leading question. UBI must be on top of other benefits and not in place of. That is the mistake that governments make. UBI must not cover everything, but it is intended to give you a leg up. Exactly.
So UBI needs to be coupled with rent controls, because otherwise everything's going to go to the landlord.
Exactly. It'll just keep going up. Yeah. Some very foul language about Canada, which I will skip over, even though know I'm anti-Canada, kind of. I'm not anti-Canada. I'm pro-exposing their racism. Let's see. I just think they get away with it. So what else? Also, when you make these comments, say where you live. I mean, you don't have to give your exact address. I'm just saying, what city. Karma. I hate that. I click on it, and then profiting off someone else's misfortune is disgusting. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Matt Taibbi, Canada. Oh yeah, it's true. Matt Taibbi wants to move to Canada. He's too old or something. I don't really understand. Sounds ageist though. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. And I love everyone who's commented so far. I didn't mean to be, UBI is proven to raise productivity. Yeah. UBI is proven to raise productivity and reduce substance abuse. Look at the work of Prof. Guy standing for the data. Well, oh, wow. I didn't realize how late it was, by the way. We've kept you, Ava, on for so long, and you, Esha, even longer, but we had an open-ended thing. So I actually, the damage I did, the person with whom I need to repair my whatever is Ava. Anything else? Yeah. I'm honestly, what was in my head was Robin DiAngelo when she told that story about asking permission to repair her what was it? Do you give me permission to repair my racism I perpetuated against you?
Oh, right.
So I was going to ask Ava she gave me permission to apologize. I wanted the chance to repair my not being as time conscious with you. Coming full circle. Yeah. Yeah. Esha, you're going to say something.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to roll my eyes at Robin DiAngelo and the, what was it? She gets paid by the Department of Homeland Security to run anti-racist seminars.
Well, they need that, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, it's not working too well there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah, I gotta read her book more carefully. Seen a lot of her videos. And anything else anyone wants to make sure we talk about or mention?
I feel good.
You feel good? All right.
Can we mention Bolivia? They're having their election today, and obviously the U.S. is sending out weirdos to do coups. But it looks like MAS, which is Evo Morales' party, is like if it's legitimate, like it looks like they're winning in a landslide.
Right.
But what we don't know is how willing the Trump administration is with all the death squads.
Right. Yeah, we talked about Bolivia a couple of weeks ago with Ben Norton, but we got to get another show on that and get the.
Well, today's the election day.
Well, right. We're gonna have to do that. I guess tomorrow. Well, I don't have a show on Monday. We're gonna have to do a show on that Wednesday. I just set myself up. Guess we're gonna be talking about Bolivia on Wednesday. I'll read a Democracy Now! Headline and call it a day. No, but yes. So it looks like they're winning. That's great. Ben Norton predicted that on the Katie Halper show. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, who's counting the votes? I mean, I'm not going to hold. I'll wait to celebrate. Okay, now there's a big troublemaker in the chat named Leslie Lee. Leslie, you want to?
Wow.
What do you want people to say? Yeah.
Oh, we have to plug the live show.
We got to plug the live show. Yeah.
Plug the live show. We're doing the Katie Halper show X Struggle session again. Have we booked our guests? We shouldn't announce anything yet, right?
Now let's wait. We have one guest, but I mean, we have guests, but I don't want to. I haven't gotten permission.
We have good guests. We have good guests, everybody. So go to littlefieldnyc.com and get your ticket for the new show. It's going to be a good one.
Wait, it's going to be in person?
How will you guys do it with COVID?
We don't do it in person.
It's just a web show. But Littlefield is shut down, so they're doing it as like a fundraiser for everyone who's out of work. But yeah, it's like this, but it's on their Facebook instead.
Yeah. And yeah, but it's fun. It has a certain energy to it.
Yeah, it's a good time. It was fun last time.
It's gonna be a really good show.
Check it out. And we have a good guest lined up, and it's gonna be a good time.
Oh, can I make one more plug? Next week, I'll be speaking at the Move to Amends constitutional seminar or like populist gathering. So I'll be the opening speaker. So next Saturday, I'll send Katie the link and she can tweet it out.
Great. Well, yes, I will do that, but you didn't get my consent. I'm just kidding. Sparky writes, in homesteading, people were giving land to grow the economy. Modern logistics tech and tons of unused government land make 40 acres and a mule doable. Don't look at it as a giveaway. Don't call it a giveaway. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think lots of white people in this country throughout the history have been able to get like free land and housing and, affordable mortgages. And that has not been the same case for people of color throughout our history. So definitely there needs to be some type of reparations that have to do with housing and land.
Jared Kushner got bailed out for his really bad investment,
right?
By Qatar or something weird. So
maybe we can all get one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, I think this is. I'm like, yeah, we're living in a scary time, guys. I think everyone knows that. I shouldn't end on that note, but I guess it's, it's great that we have Ava doing this kind of work. It's great that Esha's speaking at the types of places she's speaking. It's great that Jack does Jack AM and struggle.
I mean,
sessions.
I just kind of got my own whatever.
What's Jack AM?
I do a Twitch show every morning.
What time?
7 a.m. Pacific.
It's not even morning for me, so I might even be awake. I should
10
tune
a.m.
in.
10 a.m. every Monday through Friday.
Okay, I'll tune in.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah. It's great that we live in a world where we can get instant notifications about news like Bolsonaro's ally getting busted with tons of cash in his undies. That is hilarious. It's great we live in a world where Ruki Vasupuram is so supportive and says stuff like awesome guest, awesome show. Thank you. Thank you. What else is great, guys? I'm trying to put a positive spin. Dinner is good?
Dinner rocks. Dinner is one of the top meals of the day.
What's for dinner for you guys?
I'm not sure, actually. I might, maybe I'll have some chicken, maybe some chicken sausage or something.
That's good. There's some really good. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Some broccoli rabe and shrimp. I know.
Ooh. Well, hello. By the way, I don't know why I just said that.
That's where I get all my recipes.
Really?
Yeah.
I just got a great idea. F the New York Times.
What did they do?
I don't like them. You know we don't like them. We're going to
but their cooking app is good.
We're going to have our own cooking app.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh yeah. If you're subscribed to the New York Times, unsubscribe and subscribe to my show, please.
Yes, that's
Aisha,
fine.
again, really taking liberties. First, Katie Halper show, then Aisha. Actually, both of them at the same time. Yeah. No, it is a great show. I'm just kidding. No, subscribe to Aisha's show. It's really good.
I just assumed everyone subscribed to your show.
To your Substack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Homesteading doesn't need to be about race. Okay, that's another conversation we can talk about later. I don't know. I didn't block anyone. Should I read this or is that too?
I don't know.
Katie, I truly love both your and Matt's work. Wish you'd give my perspective a second look. You actually blocked me.
Oh,
me?
No.
I may F up my text and be spell checked speciously. I'm a boomer. Cut an MF a break.
Well,
wow.
Posting, it's hard out there. You know what I mean? It's hard out there.
I don't really block people. So maybe that was a mistake. This is Katie Halper reminding all of you once again that we're all going to die. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. You got this. That's how I think I've been really turning things around, actually. So yeah, it's great that it is great. Broccoli rabe is great. I'm a broccoli rabe stan. I stan broccoli rabe. And my dad makes very funny jokes about it. Lots of puns. But Ava, we got to let you go. I think we have to let everyone go. I'll stay on for a little bit more to take some chats from people.
Yeah, I got to run too.
Yeah, I got to let you all go. Sorry, guys. I have to let you go.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, let's go out with a bang. We got to go out with a bang. Let's go out on a happy note. What should we say, guys? What did you learn today on this show?
I learned all about New York, what's going on. I didn't know anything about all this stuff that's going on. I live in Los Angeles.
Oh.
So what Aisha was talking about with the Prop 22 is a little more what's going on over here. So I learned quite a bit about what's going on with tenants over in New York, Katie.
Yeah. So you learned that?
I did.
Anyone else learn anything?
I learned how bad it is. Like I didn't realize how draconian the laws in New York was, and I'm so shocked. So thank you, Ava, for even shocking me.
Yeah,
you're welcome. I learned that it's not so scary to go on live.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, once you get the bag
podcast.
moved off, then it's all gravy after that.
Some of Bauka Jenduma points out, Ava has such good spirits in spite of all the sad stuff in New York. It's true.
Thank you.
And then Ava's bag 2020. I agree. Yeah. Well, yeah, please. Thank you, Curious Carl, for saying great guests, great hosts. Thank you for the show. Thank you so much. Please subscribe and like it. I think I misunderstood someone. Sorry, I really am bad at sarcasm, and then I don't get it, and then it's very hypocritical because I'm very sarcastic. Anyway, well, we're gonna keep on this story. We're gonna keep on this story. Don't you worry, guys. We're not letting them get away with it. And actually, someone should send me footage from the Upper West Side. Let's shame all the people. Let's do it. Send me footage and I'll play it of these terrible Upper West Siders. We'll play it on the live stream. Please, if you're in the Upper West Side neighborhood, get some footage of these people. Send it to me and I'll just stream it and we'll talk about them.
Sounds good.
Sounds
good.
Yeah, that's legal, right?
Oh, it's totally legal. They're in a public place.
Yeah. And okay, guys, love all of you out there. And we'll see you Wednesday at 9 p.m. Then see you after that Sunday, 7 p.m. Everyone follow everyone here.
Follow everybody.
In a circle. Yeah. Everyone follow everyone's Twitters. And yeah. Anything else, Esha?
No, I just said it was nice to see you again, Jack. Even though it's like
again.
we're like on opposite coast now.
Good times.
Oh wait, I meant to highlight another thing. Where is it? Someone's like, absolutely. This is going to be our tagline. Absolutely, don't let them get away with it.
Yeah, don't let them get away with it.
The Katie Halper Show, not letting them get away with it.
Wow, perfect.
Wow. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and we will see you later this week.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.